In the middle of the night, a man works alone in his office. He is focused, surrounded by papers, with just enough light to keep writing. Everything seems like an ordinary night until something interrupts him. Suddenly, the piano in front of his desk begins to play. When he looks up, he is confronted with something impossible to explain. A spirit is playing the piano. This spirit has the form of a woman. Her presence illuminates the entire room, yet we do not know who she is. There is no clue that tells us her identity. Perhaps she is his deceased wife, someone important from his past, or maybe someone who once shared that same music with him. This painting is titled Spirit and was painted in 1885 by Roux. Although it was exhibited that same year at the Paris Salon, the work is now considered lost. It is not held in any museum, and unfortunately, only images of it are known to survive. For more than a century, art historians have wondered who this woman is, who this man is, and above all, whether what we are seeing is a memory, a vision, or something supernatural. By the end of the 19th century, Europe was obsessed with the idea that the dead could communicate with the living. Spiritualism was neither strange nor marginal. It was not a hidden belief either. It was practiced in elegant salons and bourgeois homes, not only by the curious, but also by doctors, writers, and scientists. There were seances, mediums, tables that were said to move on their own, knocks that answered questions, and in some cases, musical instruments that seemed to play without anyone touching them. It may sound strange today, but at the time, it made sense. This was an era in which science was advancing at great speed. New invisible forces such as electricity and magnetism were being discovered, things that could not be seen but clearly existed. So many people began to ask themselves, if invisible forces can move objects or transmit information, why could there not also be an invisible world inhabited by spirits? At the same time, the fear of death was ever present. Disease was still widespread, life expectancy was low, and death was part of everyday life. And when science could not answer questions like what happens after death or whether we will ever see those we have lost again, spiritualism stepped in to fill that void. In this context, scenes like the one Roux painted in Spirit did not seem absurd. At the time, they were not fantasy in the way we might think of them today. For many people, such events were entirely possible, and that is key to understanding the painting. For artists, these scenes were especially useful. They allowed them to speak about loss, absence, memory, and grief without explaining everything literally. A spirit could mean many things at once: a dead loved one, a memory, a sense of guilt, or even a presence that could never be forgotten. We should point out that Roux was not just any painter, nor someone improvising a mysterious scene in the middle of his career. Roux was classically trained within the French academic tradition of the 19th century, and he studied under renowned masters of the time such as Alexandre Cabanel. This means he knew how to draw with precision, construct believable spaces, and compose clear, well-structured scenes. Even so, he did not become famous primarily for his oil paintings, but for his engravings. For years, he worked as an illustrator of adventure novels, scientific stories, and fantastic literature. His most well-known work is closely connected to the books of Jules Verne, where he had to depict worlds that did not yet exist, impossible machines, strange phenomena, and extreme situations. This experience completely shaped the way he told stories through images. As an illustrator, Roux had to make the reader believe what they were seeing. His images needed to feel real, even when they depicted impossible things, and that is exactly what he does in Spirit. Although the scene could be described as supernatural, the space, the objects, and the posture of the figures are treated with complete realism. Roux knew perfectly well how to guide the viewer's eye, how to create a believable scene, and how to make something that we know is impossible feel convincing rather than absurd. In this work, he applied everything he had learned as an illustrator to the medium of painting. That is why the image feels so real, even when we do not fully understand what is happening. Now, since there is no record of what this scene is meant to represent, we are the ones who must give it an interpretation. But before we move on to discuss the meaning of this painting, I would like to remind you that this work, along with many other historical masterpieces, is available in our catalogue. If you would like to start your own art collection or decorate your home with a true masterpiece, you can find more than 800 historical works on our website, ready to help you turn your home into your own personal museum. We offer free worldwide shipping, and by purchasing from the store, you will be supporting me directly and helping me continue creating videos like this. I will leave the link in the description so you can explore the catalog after finishing the video and place your order. Now, let's continue. If I had to give my own interpretation of this painting, I would dare to say that this man was working late in his office. If we look at his desk, we can see sheets of paper, books, and even a small lamp he has turned on so he can write or read during the night. He does not look like someone who walked in to see what was happening. Instead, he seems absorbed in his routine, suddenly interrupted. I like to imagine that, in the middle of his work, he began to hear the piano in front of him playing, and that is the moment when he looks up and sees her, a woman seated at the piano. The way she is painted, and of course the title of the work, make it clear that she is not a real woman. Her glow makes her appear like a spirit. She is illuminated as if the light comes from her, not from the room. That light does not only surround her, it also spills into the space and makes the rest of the room feel darker by contrast. I believe that in that moment, the man understood what he was seeing. Not because it was logical, but because some things are recognized without needing to be explained. That is why my interpretation is that this woman was his deceased wife, and the melody she begins to play is not just any song, but one they once shared, something that carries him directly back to a memory of life with her. However, the most important thing about this painting is not what it shows, but what it does not show. Roux deliberately hides the woman's face. She is turned away from us, which makes it impossible to know who she is. She could be anyone, or she could be someone very specific to him, but the artist chooses not to give us that certainty. We also do not see the details of the room clearly. Parts of the space are swallowed by shadow. We cannot clearly distinguish the paintings on the walls, nor what surrounds them. I like to think they might be portraits, perhaps of him and her, but even if that were true, the painting would still hide what truly matters, never allowing us to confirm anything. Roux did not want us to see a story with a clear ending. He wants us to step into a moment and do the rest ourselves. He gives us enough clues to build an explanation, but not enough to feel secure in it. That is why I think it is worth asking you what you see in this scene. Do you think it could be the spirit of his wife? Or perhaps it is only a dream or a hallucination with no concrete story behind it? I would love to read your interpretations in the comments and see how far each person's imagination can go when faced with a painting like this. As always, thank you for watching this video until the end. I would also like to take this moment to thank each and every one of you for subscribing and for helping this community grow to more than 400,000 people. And if you have not subscribed yet, I invite you to do so and to leave a comment, as this helps the video reach many more people. I will see you in the next video, and happy holidays to everyone.